And without faith, it is impossible to please God. Everything that we do should be done by faith. The Bible uses parables and analogies a lot relating to seed time and harvest. There's parables and analogies dealing with sowing and reaping. There are parables and analogies even about rain falling to the earth and causing things to grow and bloom and live. Then you got the verses in scripture that's talking about God makes it rain on the just as well as the unjust. If you look at all of these parables, all of these verses of scripture that have these stories or analogies in them, what you see is something physical that is happening. And it's important because a lot of people try to act like God is some kind of magic or some kind of magician who does spells or magic to get things to happen. And if you want to get things done God's way, you got to squint your eyes up and you got to say the right words at the right time and you got to have the right movements of your hands and all. That's not God. But if you look into these analogies and into these parables, you'll see that there were physical things happening in all of this. The rain is physically falling to the earth and is causing things to physically bloom. It's causing plants and trees to grow physically. It's actually happening. If you look at the seed time and harvest, this is about a seed that is physically being planted and it is physically growing, and one day it is physically actually being harvested. It's happening for real. If you look at the scripture that talks about the rain raining on the just and the unjust, this is a physical rain. It's not what you hear from a lot of religious people where God is raining over the just and raining over the unjust. It's not raining REIGN. It's actually talking about physical rain, water falling from the sky. RAIN is telling you that if a sinner walks out in the rain, that sinner is gonna get wet. If a child of God, a believer, walks out in the rain, that believer is also going to get wet. It rains on the just as well as the unjust. And this is physical. It physically rains on the just and the unjust. The sowing and the reaping. You plant a seed and it grows physically. The seed is planted physically. All of these things, these analogies and these parables are explaining things that actually happen. You don't get on your knees and pray for a seed to be planted. You go and you plant the seed. You don't get on your knees and pray for the seed to grow. The seed grows on its own. Will God bless the ground? Yes. You can pray for God to bless the ground, but the seed grows on its own. It's physical. It ain't magic. So when you look at the life of a true believer should be doing things physically in their lives. A true believer is not sitting somewhere begging God to do things that they are not applying faith and works to make happen. A true believer is not somewhere begging God to do something that they're not doing themselves. A true believer is not asking God to perform a miracle that they are not applying their faith to receive. Everything that we do should be done by faith. Now, when you look at your own life, if you be honest, you would have to admit that sometimes you can remember praying for things and those things happen. And sometimes you can remember praying for things and certain things didn't happen. So the question is God hidden and missing? Is God blessing sometimes and sometimes God is not blessing? Is God's system or God's design working on some days and not working on other days? Is the Bible true in certain circumstances? And then are there certain issues where the Bible is actually not true? No, the Bible is always right. So what's going on at the times when you pray and you get the answer, and other times you pray and what you prayed for never manifested? What's really going on? What's really happening is that we are praying and believing some things according to faith, and then there are some things that we're praying and asking for that we're really not believing. So when you are praying and applying faith, you get the results. And when you are praying and not actually believing, or you're praying and not actually putting your faith into action, you are not getting the results. That's what's really happening. Now think back to certain things that you prayed for. You really believed it, you really went after it, and you got it. Now think about the things that you prayed for. You thought that it was really far-fetched. You might have thought that this probably is not going to happen. So you went at it half-heartedly. You didn't give it your all. You didn't really grind to go for it, and you didn't get it. That's the proof that God's system actually works. That's the proof that everything we do needs to be done by faith. That's the proof that the word is actually true. If you pay attention when you read scripture, you'll see Jesus asking a question a lot. He would ask, do you believe? Some people he asked, can you believe? Then we got the scripture that says, if you can believe, all things are possible to them that believe. So the question is, do you believe? Because like I said, it's not magic. is not you run around the church, jump up and down, and God is going to do it. No, you can run around the church, you can jump up and down, you can speak in tongues, but at the end of the day, the question still remains, do you believe? You can give all the money you want in church. You can stay away from all the sin that you want to stay away from. But at the end of the day, the question still remains, do you believe? So for that thing that you're asking God to do, I'm asking you, do you believe? That heart's desire that you want God to bless you with, do you believe? For that car that you're planning to buy, do you believe? For that money that you say you need, that money that you're expecting God to bless you with, do you actually believe? Are you actually applying your faith to this issue, this situation, or these circumstances? Are you physically believing? Are you physically applying works to your faith? Because as we know, faith without works is dead. Now, there's many times where we'll pray for something and believe and we'll get it. And that's applying faith to whatever that is. And then, if you be honest, there are other times that we want things and we'll put in overtime to get the money and just go buy it ourselves. Did you believe for it? No, not really, because anybody can work. Did you apply your faith towards it? No, not really, because anybody can put in overtime. So in that situation, you did not use your faith to get that. You decided to get it by working, and you did not do it by faith. There are even times when there's things we want to do. You might pray about it and see what God has to say about it, or pray and see what God puts in your spirit concerning this thing, what to do, how to do it, when to do it. And that is applying faith towards a thing and doing it by faith. And then, if we be honest, there are things that we want to do. We don't pray about it. We don't even think about faith concerning it. And we don't apply any works to faith to get it done or to do it. We just simply get up, get with whoever we need to get with, and just go do it. And in that situation, you did not do that by faith. But again, it's not magic. Everything that we do, everything that we get, everywhere that we go, we need to be Christ-minded first. Every desire that we have, everything that we want in our lives, everything that we wish to accomplish, we need to put faith first. We need to put God's system, God's design first. Everything that we do, we need to do it by faith. Whatever is not of faith is sin. Don't just go to church. Go to church, by faith. Don't just go to the job and work. Go to work by faith. Don't just buy a car. Buy the car by faith. Don't just buy a house. Buy it by faith. Don't just give the tithe and the offering. If you're going to give by faith. Don't just pump gas into your vehicle. When you pumping gas, pump gas by faith. Don't just cash your check. Cash the check by faith. Don't just save money. Save money by faith. Don't just help a person that's in need. Help that person by faith. This is the difference between somebody who's just existing and somebody who's actually living. This is the difference between somebody who is living by man's system or Satan's system versus somebody who is living their life by God's system. Some people just do what they do, and then there are those of us who do it by faith.